Timothy, Karen, Troy, and Ashley, your flight has boarded and is ready for immediate departure.
It's June 20th, 2002. We're here in Orlando, Florida at the Sable Palms, which is a part of the Marriott World Center. And just to recap a little bit, today's Thursday, and we're getting ready. It's now 8:35, getting ready to go to Universal Studios. We haven't been filming because I didn't think the camera was working, so we still don't know if the camera is going to work, but we're going to try to get some of today and some of tomorrow's filming in before we close out this week. I say week is because we've been here on a timeshare, a shared timeshare we've had in conjunction with Cancun, and we started here on Saturday. You saw the early part of the clip. That's at a national airport. We were leaving Washington, and on Sunday, I'll go back through and we'll do a recap here later on. Hey John, how you doing? Don't do that when someone's filming, all right?
John, stop. I told you to stop.
Go in the car, John, right? Say hello to the people out there in film land.
Hello.
All right, go in the car. I'll join up with you in a second. All right, Joe, come on back here. By the way, my cameraman is Joseph the Fourth. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate your help. All right. So, anyway, on Monday we started out, or back up Sunday we started out. Saturday after we got here in this beautiful place here, 4128. This is the villa number. 1,400 square feet. Very lovely accommodations. One of the very first of the vacation clubs from Marriott. We started out, and rather than recap it now, maybe I'll join up later, Joseph. So let's click that off and we'll join in a little bit later.
Okay. See you, Dad. Bye.
Bye.
No fuel injection here, just a carburetor and plenty of engine. This thunderous hum can't go over.
Hey there, Joseph. Yeah, where are we?
We're inside Universal Studios Orlando, and we're right outside NASCAR Cafe, and we're waiting to get our VIP pass to get into every single ride.
John, how do you think? What's VIP mean?
What?
What's VIP mean?
I don't know. Very important
Liz,
person.
what's
Very
VIP
important
mean?
person.
All right, are you a very important person today?
Yes.
How old are you today?
22.
How old are you? Come on, Joseph. Talk to me.
11.
How old are you?
I'm 10.
All right. How old are you? 13. Mary,
That's classified information, Tony.
classified. So, Mary, when we were here years ago, give a little history of this.
We were here when Elizabeth was 2, and Joseph was 3 months with Nino. And so we went on just a couple of the rides. Earthquake was broken. We went on King Kong, E.T., Jaws. We drove around. That globe up there was just next to the parking lot. So this was all parking lot.
And now, so if I turn around, you're not going to be able to hear all the noise.
You know, it was just...
Awakens the grandstands, sending a chill of excitement through every
Right? Well, let's go inside and we'll film a little bit more when we get in there. We'll have time.
Okay, well, it's just, obviously, you know, back, I think, that way over there behind us is the hotel. Nino said if you stay at their hotels, you get front of the line admission at every ride.
If you're a NASCAR person, you must just be loving life here. I mean, all these Budweiser cars and Ford 88 there.
Doesn't that just promote people drinking and driving? NASCAR, $1.50 beers, all day, every day at the bar.
Well, that's a NASCAR kind of way of life.
Mom, what? That NASCAR bar. Nickelodeon in front of a slime machine. I remember this when we were here a long time ago. The rest of our tour is leaving.
Hey. Joseph.
This is the back lot where all the different
What'd you get, Twister?
things are. We have
It was cool. It was like it acted real, but some parts you could see that were like fake. But
That was good, huh?
it made it look so realistic.
That's great. All right. Mary, how was that E.T. ride?
fun.
Yeah?
Cute.
John, what'd you think, buddy?
It was fun.
Huh? Look at the camera.
It was really fun.
Yeah? All right, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You having a good time today?
Yeah, you said goodbye, Vaghi.
At the end, huh? Elizabeth, how'd you like E.T.? Say goodbye. Look how you E.T. yourself. It's slushy time. Oh, wait here for Mom.
Hey, Dad, get my shoes on tape.
What shoes? Oh, John, new shoes. You actually wear those things in public, huh?
Tracy M's shirt.
Okay.
Tracy M's
Just time for a little lunch break.
John, now that you've had lunch, you don't need lunch. And I'm going to like this, huh?
Yeah, you're gonna be
Outside.
outside.
Yes, 3/4.
Wait, Dad.
John.
Yeah. She's in here, but she's
You told me to play, Dad.
all right.
No, you told me to play, Dad.
Hello, Joseph.
Are you guys fun? Yeah, no,
Mars, are we going to Mars? Where are we going today? Morning, Mary.
Good morning.
Here it is, 11:05 here on this Friday. Where are we?
We're at the Kennedy Space Center,
Yeah?
and we are waiting for our 11:20 bus out to the NASA Up Close tour, which takes us to the web crawler, the vehicle assembly building, the landing area. Hopefully the kids will enjoy all of that. And we're actually just getting acquainted and accustomed to where we are in the facility. The IMAX theater is behind us, and over here you have the garden with all of the rockets in it. And then looks like different things here, like a show maybe over here, Mad Mission to Mars, Universe Theater. You and I were here, I think your mother was down here with,
Naya.
I think it was Naya, back
Yep.
when Gino Paolucci was that his name?
Yeah.
Had built this town down here or something. We came down, and this was one of the things we came out to
It was
see.
my father, Nino, you and me, and was
I don't
Elizabeth
remember
born?
Nino being there. No,
Yeah.
I was pregnant with Elizabeth. I don't think Nino was here. I remember your dad.
Nino was here. I remember the fire alarm went off in the middle of the night at the hotel. Woke him up. Yeah, my father. Yep. And so you were pregnant with Elizabeth?
I was pregnant with Elizabeth.
So that would have been how many years ago then?
It was in January or February. I came down early before you guys came down with your mom, and I stayed with your mom to keep her company. And it was in January or February of '88,
So that was
14 years
14
ago.
years ago. And that was in the dark days because after Challenger 11 blew up, this place was pretty much on a holding pattern doing nothing. Remember that?
I don't know. Challenger 11? I
Or
don't remember.
Challenger
11,
13.
The space shuttle.
Space shuttle blew up.
Space
All
shuttle.
right, well, we'll learn all about today. Okay, so this is our last day. And
Last
we
day of
missed a
Florida.
lot on the tape, so later we'll go do a little recap what we did for the week. But I'd like to,
Absolutely.
let's walk over here, guys. And we have our astronaut here, astronaut Joe.
Can't even get
Astronaut John,
To flatten a
if you're a
pen.
nice boy, we'll do it at the end of the day. How's that? And astronaut Elizabeth, first female.
We might feed him.
All right, let's go, guys. Come on.
Rewards for being-
Hey, Joe, where are we going now?
I think we're walking through the space garden. I'm not quite
What
sure.
is it called, Joe? What's that sign say up top there?
Rocket garden.
There we go. This is the Rocket Garden. And why is it called the Rocket Garden?
It has rockets.
It has rockets in it.
And boy, does it have rockets. It's got little rockets. It's got big rockets. You got to go up and read the name tags on them. These are real live rockets. Come on, Liz, we can play in there later. Let's go see the rockets. Come on, we don't have much time.
Joe, we load in 10 minutes and I want to sit together as a family.
I know.
Hey,
Well, we get on and off the bus, so.
I don't think so.
Dad, you can film. You can film me in the play place.
Look at these rockets here.
What kind of rocket is that? Is that not Apollo?
This was a Titan 2, Gemini Titan 2.
Mom, these the bomb or these delivered?
This was the rocket that took the missile across over to Russia so that we could go probably
Yeah, so it's a
10,000
warhead,
miles.
Joe.
They would put a warhead on here.
Is it still usable?
You never
I'm sure
know.
that they probably have taken.
Oh, there's tons of them in the ground from all over the country. And they're breaking a lot of them up, but they're still out there.
To alligators. We have about 5,000 or 6,000 of those. Of course, that was counted by a man with one leg. We haven't seen him in 2 weeks, so we're not really sure. We have about 310 different species of birds, 301 creepy crawly critters. We have about 15, maybe 17,000 wild pigs. Pigs, yeah. Now that roughly correlates to the number of people who work out here. We don't understand that, but we're working on that one too. And we figure we're going to have a heck of a barbecue someday. We also have 23 different kinds of mosquitoes. All wanting a sample of your blood, right? Yes. Now the thing is, folks, with the mosquitoes, if you hear them, don't fear them. It's the boys. They make noise, but they can't do anything.
John.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how it goes. Now, folks, the little boys here, they didn't like that because they didn't laugh. Yeah, see, they don't understand what I'm saying, right? Nobody understands what I'm saying. I'm just going to get off the bus and come right back on again. That's all. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is the whole north end of Merritt Island is Kennedy Space Center. Okay, and we're going to go from the little white dot to the dark green circle. This is part of the 5% that's dedicated to space. Oh, here comes Barry. Let's give him a big round of applause, folks, okay? Whoa! Anybody who could take us through so much in so little time, that's got to be a good pilot, right? Yeah, but he's smooth, I'll tell you. Smooth, right? I have 37 right now. I don't know if everybody's here yet, because we got a minute or two yet? Okay.
Barry's got that left foot.
Leaving the little white circle, we're going to the dark green circle.
Oh, the point
You ever
out.
wonder what goes on behind the scenes, what makes this place tick, who all works here, and where do the astronauts stay?
One of those two.
Ooh, yeah. Here comes more folks. So we're going to find out all about that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, let me just double check here. Back up here to where the vehicle assembly building is. Now we won't get out this time. Okay, we're going to actually stay on the bus, and don't worry because we'll get out over there and give you a chance for good pictures. So hold on to your cameras. We're going to head out to the launch pads. Whoa. That's why you paid the big bucks, right? Yeah, I know. And then when we get out over there, we'll get a chance for some good pictures. Hopefully, if it's not raining, Okay. So pray that the rain stays up. And then we'll come back. We'll go past the vehicle assembly building, stop there for a while, go to the shuttle landing facility. Okay. And after the landing facility, we'll bring you to the Apollo Saturn V Center. Now the Saturn V Center, that's where all those other buses go. Okay? So you want to see at least as much as they see, right? So we're going to bring you there. That's the last stop for us, for Barry and for myself. You see, we're going to leave you there. Yeah, I don't know which was worse, going up or coming down. Anyway, the thing is very, very scary, and we're going to talk about that transition to bring us over here later on. But Barry, why don't you, can you drive and talk at the same time?
Yes, I can.
He may be able to chew gum and walk. Yeah, no, all right. Okay, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Okay, first off, my primary response, most of the buildings and piece of equipment that you see out here will appear much smaller than what they actually are due to the wide open spaces. We will be getting up close and personal, so save your film. We'll be stopping at that location so you can take close-up pictures of it.
Now, folks, as we come along here into this restricted area, we're going to have to pass through the guard shack here. And smile, don't look nervous. And if they ask you any questions, you know nothing, right? You know absolutely nothing. Barry's going to swear on his badge that we're all family. Yeah. Right, Barry?
Kissing cousins, at least.
Kissing cousins, okay. Good enough. Now, while he's flashing his badge there, this is the industrial area. In 1958, well, actually, we moved out here in 1961. So these are the oldest buildings out here, and this is where a lot of the really big stuff happens. For example, this building off to the right is called the CIF, not to be confused with the CIA. Right, Barry?
That's right. It has a totally different function.
You want to tell us what it does?
All right. After the orbiter's landed, we're going to take its electronics over here to be calibrated back down to 0 to get it prepared for its next flight. Not too much unlike a used car dealer, except we do it legally.
Yeah. The little white building off there to your far right is a hospital. Folks, we are totally self-sufficient. We have our own hospital, fire department, police department, water wells. We even own the telephone lines. We got it all. And so everything's here. It's just like a small city.
Hold on.
Hold on. Okay. This is what we call a safe way to drive. Stop at red lights. Okay. Now the building over here, the big beige one with the blue stripes off to the right. Barry, you want to tell us about that one?
Sure. By the way, that color of blue is probably, this is the only place you're going to see that exact color. It's called NASA blue, our own color. It is our headquarters building where Roy Bridges,
Not Lloyd.
not Lloyd, but Roy Bridges, yeah, I do that sometimes. Has his offices up there on the top floor, the one with all the windows, right next to Suzanne's office. He's our director.
Mine is 4x4 with a coffee pot in the room.
Mr. Bridges is a retired Major General out of the Air Force, and he's also a retired astronaut. The right man to be in the right place at the right time. We don't want any politician from out of Washington here. This man knows what's going on. It's like a small city in there, even. We have our barber shops in there, beauty shops, the post office. We have our own zip. What is it? 32899. Of course, the best doggone cafeteria in the whole area is in there, probably because the boss is in there. And also the archives, from the beginning to the present, stored down in the basement. Thousands upon thousands of pictures in there to keep records of what we've been doing out here.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Barry.
I was going to introduce the next building and swing it over to you.
Okay.
That's coming up to our front right.
It is?
Not your front right, my front right.
Okay. Yeah, because my front right is a bush, right? Yeah. Your front right is, alligator off there to the right. Yeah. We 3 gators so far. Okay. This one, the beige or the white one over here is called Operations and Checkout. It's where we check out the operations. This is actually the oldest and largest building out here. And this building, way back when we were going to the moon, this is where we checked out the Apollo spacecraft. The spacecraft that went to the moon was a room built like a big round gumdrop, only 11 by 13. In that little room, 3 people with all their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, clean and dirty underwear, were going to the moon and back for 2 weeks. Now that had to be like a baby Earth. And in that building, there are pressurized chambers, altitude chambers, all kinds of equipment that could check out this little baby Earth that would support our astronauts on their trip to the moon. Now when we were going to the moon, Okay, we were training our astronauts, and of course we had to create a simulated lunar surface, which was right over here off to your left, where you see this big lawn now.
Hello.
Back in 1969 to 1972, you could see astronauts driving around here on a moon buggy in a spacesuit. It was a very, very colorful time. Of course, we don't go to the moon anymore, but the latest project for NASA is the International Space Station. We started it in 1994, and in 1994, they took out the lunar surface and put up this big building. This is the International Space Station Complex. Folks, in your packet, I gave you this picture. It's a picture of all the pieces that will eventually be on the space station one day, all separated. If you'll notice, they're all in different colors, according to who's paying for what. Some people think Americans pay for everything, but here you can see that there are 16 member nations, and these 16 countries are working together. So no matter where in the world one of these pieces are made, it's brought here to this building through those big yellow doors, and inside that building, they're checked out to make sure all the life support systems work before we take it to the launch pad and put the piece in the cargo bay of the shuttle. This is how we're going to take those pieces into space. That's why they come here, so that we can check it all out. Now, the space station is only about 1/3 complete. I've got this picture here. I'll pass it around so you can see what it looks like now. It's about the size of a 3-bedroom house. Someday it'll be the size of 2 football fields.
Go get it.
Big, right? Yeah. How about off to the right here, Barry?
Coming up on your right, looks kind of like a junkyard. It's actually a test bed for components, and we're going to use that to launch it. We check out the new equipment and new personnel out here prior to going out to real time out in the launch area. NASA really does not like to hear the words whoops, especially out there at the launch area. So everything's checked out here.
Yeah. It looks like a junkyard, but it's not, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Now coming up to our front right, one of Suzanne's favorite buildings.
Oh, yes. Now, keep your cameras ready, folks. We may see government workers working. This is, yeah.
There's one running.
That could be an astronaut, but don't tell. You don't know that, right? Okay. Coming off here to your right, this gray building is the laundry. Girls, don't we just love doing washes? Isn't that our best thing, right? Anyway, the thing is, folks, we don't wash shirts and underwear here. What we wash, oh, another gator off there to your right, folks, right by the culvert. We'll see them again. We'll see lots of them today because they're coming out to sun. Okay, the laundry off here to your left. See, oh, look at there. Government workers working. I told you you'd see this, right? All right. Yeah. Is there a difference? Okay. Anyway, folks, this is where we wash parachutes. When the shuttle is launched, at 2 minutes and 3 seconds, the 2 big booster rockets are jettisoned away. And parachutes bring those booster rockets down, and they fall in the water about 150 miles offshore. Now, folks, we go out there and retrieve those rockets and the parachutes, but the parachutes are the size of a 13-story building. Yeah. We want to wash them, but you can't fit that in a mate tag. So, see the orange and yellow things? Those are actually meat hooks from a meat packing plant. The parachutes are brought to us on that big spool. You see 8 spools way over there, look like huge oversized thread spools way in the back by the truck. The parachutes are all wound up on that. We take them off, hang them on those big orange and yellow hooks, and turn them through 30,000 gallons of water. Take off all the salt, the seaweed, the burn marks. To the part right there, they dry it, they have a table the size of this bus, a huge sewing machine, and mend them, and then they pack them back in the nose cone of a rocket. So we can use them again, right? Faster, cheaper, better. That's our motto.
Oh, we're in Florida. And when it gets down around 60 degrees, with all this thin down flood down here, people start shivering in these buildings. All that is the hot water. If I go a little closer to this bigger door, you're going to see at least a portion of the canister that we use. If you'll notice, it's just about the same size as the cargo bay of the orbiter itself. Underneath it is one of the unique trucks developed by K-Mag in Germany.
Anybody here from
Deutsch
Germany?
here?
Anybody here from Germany? One of Germany's contributions to the space station are 4 of those trucks. They're twice as wide as this bus and twice as long. Now it doesn't look it, everything here is super scale, but this big truck, and you can see the canister or the container sitting on top. And as Barry mentioned, the truck is very, very versatile. It can use diesel or electric. When you go in the building, you can't give off fumes, so it has to run by electric. And the canister is a big white room. That means it's clean inside. We drive the canister into the building. Huge cranes pick up the parts for the space station, put them into the container, and they drive back here. And as Barry mentioned, we come over to this big place here, and they flip it from the horizontal to the vertical back on the truck. Now I have a picture of that going down the road. Okay, we're going to send this around, and you could see here that it takes up twice the width of the road. In other words, both lanes. Seriously holds up traffic here because it goes at less. It's about 5 miles an hour on the 11-mile journey from here to the launch pad. Seriously holds up traffic.
Very movable.
Do you mind if I point out that it has a tower next to it, and it's sitting on a table called a mobile launch platform. Now, Barry's going to tell you a little bit about all of this stuff, but when you look at the picture, it'll all come together.
Okay, what you're looking at, that big red tower next to the Center 5 rocket is called the LUT. It's been cut down into 20-foot sections. Now, right here we have one whole one, plus 2 1/3. Because the other 2 LUTs, 2/3 of it, is out of the launch area being reused by NASA. We'll be pointing that out to you when we get out there. It's called the fixed structure. The green area, of course, it's the high-speed elevator that took the astronauts all the way up to the top level. The service arms are down here on the end to my front left. All of them except for one, that was the top one. That's the one that the astronauts actually used to walk across to get in their capsule. That one has been refurbed already and put back into the rocket garden back at the visitor center. And it's set up so that you can walk across the same steps that Armstrong and all the rest of them walked across. Very unique experience. Bragging rights.
Very large gator to the right. Very large. In the water, you just see his back. I'm sorry, folks. It's those of you in the back of the bus can see him, but the front of the bus missed him. I'm sorry. Okay.
Thousands of dollars worth of space equipment out here. What is it that we all want to see before we go?
Are 20-foot segments that would be stacked one on top of another to create a tower that would, the total coming...
Program or a group that's gathering money now. Once we have enough money, we're going to refurb one of the LUTs out at the Center 5 complex where we're taking you, where we're going to be dropping you off.
We just saw that.
So they started developing this area like as a self-contained city. As you can see, one of our own water tilers here. Over to your left, one of our electrical grids.
In the Cold War.
Across the road to my front left, sanitation refurbishing water plant. In other words, with about 15,000 people out here, that's a lot of toilets. We had to do something with that waste.
Yeah, waste management system.
Also, you'll notice all kinds of warehouses out here. We don't make anything, but we do distribute it. A lot of supply and logistics out here because this supports every facet like a small city. And plus some. We have 4 fire stations. One of them's down here on our left. If you peek inside, you'll see our older engines, the red and white ones that most cities have. But I believe last time I went by yesterday, there was one of the newer ones with the lime green color. And it took me the longest time. Finally, I had to talk to a fireman to find out why we started painting these things these weird colors. Because they discovered it is the easiest color to spot in smoke. Which comes in handy.
Lime green. See, you always see a
And
red
of course,
flag.
that newer vehicle is moved out.
See how they are? Just because we wanted to show.
I can see it.
Our water plant that heats all the waters to our front left, the one with the 3 chimneys on it.
Oh, here it is. There's your lime green building thing. One of them, anyway.
Yeah, one of them. One of many. And the only service station, I say service station, not gas station, in 140,000 acres. Closest service station about 20 miles away.
You get gas for $1.37 a gallon.
Why Sidco?
That's the,
Why not?
That's the contract.
Yes.
Yes.
Low bid.
Folks, if you look back here, near the back side of headquarters, folks, You know, NASA doesn't hire people. They hire companies to hire people. NASA didn't hire Citgo, and NASA didn't hire the firemen, didn't hire the shipping and receiving clerks, the people in the water treatment plant, none of that. Neither Barry nor I work for NASA. Of the 15 to 17,000 people who work out here, we're all subcontractors with the exception of maybe about 1,000, okay? So only about 10% of the people who work here actually work for the federal government. This is the most dangerous job in the world. You're going to be 240 miles above the surface of the earth where there's no air to breathe, no floor to walk on, no place to hide if anything bad happens. You're going to be living in a space 10 by 10 with 6 other folks for about 2 weeks, traveling at 10 times faster than a speeding bullet. You must be out of your mind, right? Yeah. You think about your spouse, you think about your kids, you think about your life insurance. Did you pay that premium? I mean, this is a scary, scary thing. Why? Why are you doing this, right? I mean, it's really so scary. And you sit back and then you look ahead and you see the vehicle assembly building. And you're reminded that you came to this moment resting on the shoulders of giants. Folks, people like Neil Armstrong, John Glenn, Alan Shepard, those are the guys who did the tough stuff. Those are the guys with the right stuff. Over here at Cape Canaveral, when we sat Alan Shepard, he was our first astronaut, right down here, that very first little yellow dot, pad 5-6, is where we sat him on top of an Army missile. And when we shot him up into space and he fell back down in the water in 15 minutes, it was a 15-minute ride, the pressure on his chest was 11 times his body weight.
Wow.
That's what they mean by 11 G's.
It's like jewels
Have you
in
ever
your
been
chest.
wrestling with your brother or your friends and they sit on your chest? You know how that hurts? Imagine 11 of them sitting on your chest. Yeah, it's gotta hurt.
That's it, Johnson.
Have you ever been on a roller coaster?
I'm gonna film it.
There are 4 G's on a roller coaster. Do you know what it is on the shuttle? 2.5, maybe 3. 3 G's. This is it. It's a piece of cake, right? You can do this. Tell yourself all the way to the launch pad. I can do this. I can do this. I know I can. I know I can. Right? Because it's designed to be people-friendly. It's designed to be the most people-friendly space vehicle in the world. Most highly technological piece of equipment in the world, for sure. Now, speaking of technological equipment, what do we got here? Very nice.
If you look very quickly over to your left, you'll see an American bald eagle nest. There's a break in this front row of trees coming out. Look through there, you should be able to see the nest in the middle of the tree near the top, starting right now. Almost past it. Same 2 eagles been returning here for the past for over 26 years. Each year they've been working on that nest, and now it's estimated to weigh in at over 600 pounds.
That's a bird up in the air.
Eagles are not here at this time. They've left for their summer home in North Carolina.
No, they're not
Back
gone.
about October, November to have their eaglets. Last year they had 2 eaglets hatched. They're solid brown in color, will remain so for approximately 3 years. Once eaglets have learned to fly and hunt efficiently on their own, they will be chased out of this area because this territory does belong to the parents. Let's think about that for a moment. Let's try to learn from nature. 13 such active nests in the reserve. That one back there is the only one close enough to the road for you to be able to see it. You will have the opportunity to see it one more time when you leave the Saturn 5.
Kind of fuel, okay? Just because it makes it easier to talk, okay? This is liquid hydrogen. Folks, liquid hydrogen is 423 degrees below zero cold. And when you combine liquid hydrogen with liquid oxygen, you don't get fire. You get heat, you get power, and you get water vapor. But the power is so intense, so great, that it's beyond anything you could possibly imagine. Now, this new technology meant that we had a rocket that was not a weapon of war. And so they moved us from Cape Canaveral to Merritt Island Launch Area, Mila, M-I-L-A. You thought it was a name for a restaurant. Okay, Mila, and this is the Merritt Island Launch Area. And they set up 2 launch pads way up here and this big building. And this big building is not so much a building as a tool. It's a place where 5 companies came together and put together 4 Saturn V rockets at a time. Huge, huge rockets. And these 4 rockets at a time were going to be the ones that would take us to the moon. We actually built 20 of them, right? Or 15 of them, something like that. A bunch. Now, it's a big building though, right? You want to tell them how big it is?
Okay, what you are looking at is the third largest building in the world by volume. Not by height, by volume. The facility is 525 feet tall, which makes it one of the tallest buildings in Florida. Or almost 53 stories. That building sits on 8 acres. Anybody from New York area? 3 3/4 Empire State Buildings can be fitted into the VAB. Or another way of putting it, there's enough space in there to accommodate 2,000 average American homes. American flag is the largest painted American flag in the world. Right. That's why they just gave me back my license. I tried it once. The blue field that holds the stars is as large as an NBA basketball court. The stars themselves are 6 feet across, point to point. The blue NASA logo on the right was put up there to celebrate NASA's 40th anniversary. It took just over 500 gallons of paint. Try that sometime with a 2-inch brush.
Now, folks, I've got a picture here of pulling the Saturn V down the road. Now, folks, it's sitting on a platform, as you see in the picture, and we do the same with the shuttle today. Okay? The shuttle's put together in there, and we bring it down this road. Now, we were talking 18 million pounds going down the road. If we put it on a road like we're on right now, folks, the road would melt from the pressure and the heat. So the Army Corps of Engineers came out here and they dug a ditch 7 feet deep, the width of an 8-lane highway, and 3.5 miles long. Huge ditch. They took all the sand and muck, made the causeway that you crossed over coming in here from Orlando. Then they filled it with rocks. The idea was that as you transport 18 million pounds down this road, the heat built up from friction would go between the spaces of the rock and out to the sides. Now the top layer, that's got to be special. And so the top layer is made of Alabama river rock from the Tennessee River in Alabama. I'm going to pass this around. Very smooth quartz. You polish them, they become like jewelry. But this top layer of rock actually acts as ball bearings underneath the transporter. Now, folks, the pictures that I showed you, you see a mobile launch platform. We had 3 of them for the rockets. We use the same 3 now. These are called a mobile launch platform. To Marion Power and Shuttle, they were good at making tractors. And they made, whoa, no tractor here. No tractor. Okay. Will do. Okay. Why don't you show number 6 on the thing? Because I think that shows a crawler going down the road. Okay? Watch this TV screen here, folks, and I'll try and explain. This crawler, folks, oh, by the way, this is where all the other folks come to view the launch pad. So don't be rude and stick out your tongue, but we could go.
Sorry, give that to Joseph.
They can pay the big bucks. Okay, here you go. Here you go. And if you're looking at here you see that huge transporter. We were going to call it a creeper, but then the people who work on it would be creeps. That's not nice. But we call it a crawler because it goes so slowly. Less than 1 mile an hour loaded. Here you see the huge cleats. Each one of those cleats weighs 1 metric ton. There are 57 of them. I go the length of this bus with 1 gallon. Uses 150 gallons to go 1 mile. Travels at less than 1 mile an hour with a load on it. Can boogie at 2 miles an hour unloaded. Takes 6 or 8 hours to take the mobile launch platform and the space vehicle from the vehicle assembly building to the launch pad. Now, Gary's kind of neat team, so we can beat the rain out here to the launch pad.
They're in space right now. American female and 2 Russian.
Endeavor not too long ago, like 2 weeks ago. This is the smoking gun. Look for char marks or any kind of burn marks.
Wow, that's what it took off from, John.
This is where we launched Apollo 11 and Apollo 13. Right here. This is where we did it.
Mary,
We launched
Elizabeth.
Apollo 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 from here. We launched the 3 trips to Skylab from here. We launched the first 24 launches of the shuttle, one after another. Bing, 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 bing. See, we use this one more than these because this is 3.6 miles from the VAB. But we're closed off. Okay, we're going to go around the other way. Whatever happened here, we don't understand. Folks, this is a working facility. And because it's a working facility, we never know what we're going to come into. But we're going to get around here from another transporter and a mobile launch platform on top of it. And then you've got your space vehicle on top of that. If you're going to go up a hill, that's going to fall and somebody's going to lose their job, right? So, and it can actually take out one end or one corner as much as 6 feet and keeps the mobile launch platform and the space vehicle perfectly level as it goes up the hill. Now, when it goes to the top of the hill, and I'll pass this around so you can see this in picture. When it gets to the top of the hill, there are 6 great big poles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the crawler transporter takes the mobile launch platform and the space vehicle between the 6 poles. And then it lifts them up and sets the big mobile launch platform onto the poles, just like pillars. And then it pushes down as low as it can go and crawls back. When it crawls back, it parks about a mile away, just in case of an emergency. It's really about a half an hour away. And we launch from the mobile launch platform. As I said, we had 3 of them that we used for the Saturn V rocket. We used those same 3 for the shuttle. Okay, we're coming up here to pad B. And you can see it's identical. The first thing you see off here to your left when you're looking at that is looks like wires going down to the left. There are actually 7 cables there, folks. That's the only escape you've got in the event of an emergency at the launch pad. Now that's up to 30 seconds before liftoff. 30 seconds before liftoff, we close the door, you can't get out. But up to 30 seconds before liftoff, you're going to come out here about 3 hours before liftoff. And as you come in here, you're going to come to the base of the tower. An elevator is going to take you up 195 feet. There are no floors here, folks. This is all just grill work. Remember, you're going to have a lot of noise, a lot of shock waves, a lot of vibrations. So you can't have floors because the shock waves would be impeded, right? So this is all grill work. If you're afraid of high places, this is not a place to go. When you get into there and you get into the elevator, it takes you up 195 feet. And we would put the shuttle to the right of the launch pad. If anything bad happens, you get out of the shuttle, run it if you need it. We've never had to use that. Please God, we never will. But the fact is, folks, it's there in the event. Now, when you look at this, that thing way up at the tippy top, that's a lightning mast. This is the lightning capital of the world. What's the lightning? 35. What did you tell me lightning was? 35 strikes? Was it you who told me that? No. 35 strikes per square mile in a year. We have 220 square miles. You can imagine how many lightning strikes we get, right? So that lightning mast, by the way, is the size of an 8-story building, 80 feet tall, and it's as big as Alan Shepard's rocket. Just the lightning mast. That thing that sits up there. Now, look off to your left, and you see that this is really in 2 pieces. Underneath the lightning mast, we have what we call the fixed service structure. Those pieces that you saw before. Well, we took the old tower and we permanently put them on the pad. Now that fixed service structure is right under the lightning mast. Off to the left of it, where you see that big sleeve area there, that big sleeve area is the same. Remember that canister that we were talking about that went down the road? That canister is hauled into that sleeve area, and that whole area turns. Honestly turns. It rotates. That's why we call it a rotating service structure.
They had to design it to withstand all of the heat and vibration. It's made out of stainless steel. Not stainless, but steel. Steel. And then they moved that back and reused it again and again. Over and over. The same one we used for Endeavour is the one that launched Apollo 11 back in 1969.
Wow.
You're kidding. I'm serious.
How many of them are there?
3. All we got is 3. Use the same ones. It's like having 3 cars move around. And the fire that you the first station is that
Thank you, Joseph.
things because so much I want to tell you in so little time. I could have you guys sit with me for 3 days, still not tell you everything. The Atlantic Ocean, just in case you were wondering what that puddle was. Okay? White thing here is a camera, a 35mm tracking camera. Folks, those beautiful pictures of the shuttle that you see at launch, that's the camera. You'd never have a person here. This is too close. You're only about not even a half a mile from each launch pad. If you were closer, if you were here, a person, your little heart would pound because of the shock waves and the vibrations, and then it would stop, and you don't want that to happen, right? So we don't have people here. But this is a camera viewing site, and for that particular camera, that's why the things are there. We don't want you to mess with our camera because it's special. You see a bunker over there. We used to keep a generator in the bunker to keep the camera rolling. We got better stuff now. We don't need the bunker. Way down over there is Cape Canaveral. First big tower you see is an Atlas launch pad. Next one to the right of it is, they look like skyscrapers down there, or office buildings, or maybe apartment buildings.
Down there.
Next one to the right is the Titan 4 pad. That's the largest movable structure on land. There are some boats bigger than that. But that whole thing is on a railroad line and moves away. Beyond that is Delta. So Boeing and Lockheed Martin, they make the rockets. And then you bring together over there. If you want to launch DirecTV, cell phone, satellite, whatever you want to launch, you buy a rocket from Lockheed Martin or Boeing. And they build it for you. You bring out your satellite. And then the Air Force monitors the launch so that it's done safely and everything's, people are protected. Okay, that's our job. So we do launch. We have 7 active pads down there right now. And we're getting ready, actually, the 1st of July, we're going to launch a big Delta. We think, we hope. Please God, and the creek don't rise. Everything's, according to weather. You know how those things...
Yeah, we know this week.
Yeah, okay. Now, when you look at these 2 launch pads, they are identical. And we were talking about that mobile launch platform. Remember, it's a 2-story office building made out of steel, and it's the size of a baseball diamond. Okay, sweetheart, you don't want to do that because I don't want you to die. Okay? What if you broke your neck? It's okay. I'm just so afraid he's going to hit his head on the concrete, and it's such a pretty head. Can you imagine how awful it would look with blood on it? No, it's terrible. But we get good pictures. Oh, you're good. Okay, that's important. Okay, now, so 73 seconds into liftoff, the white rockets, remember, they're attached to the orange tank by 4 bolts. And the outside of the rocket, well, the way those rockets are put together, let me start from scratch. Okay, we're gonna get to that, but I need to go through some of this background in order to help you understand Challenger. Let's do a launch. You're an astronaut. You come out here 3 hours before liftoff. You go into the tower. You get up to the top of the tower at 195 feet, just about where that little swing arm is. You get out. You're in your pumpkin suit. You see a porta potty. You pass because it's, you're wearing an 80-pound pumpkin suit, walking like a duck. But you're scared. You're nervous and everything, and your tummy's turning. You wish you could use the potty, but let's face it, folks. You're also wearing a UCD, a urine collection device, so you pass. Now, you come in, and that little section is what is attached right here to the orbiter, okay? So you come here to the orbiters, to the door, and when you come into that little white box, there are 7 people in there already. They're going to help you finish dressing. 1 person for each astronaut. He's going to put a cap on with wires so you can talk to Houston, launch control, and each other. He's going to put a helmet on your head. He's going to put a flotation device on your back, a parachute on your back, 2 flares, and a bottle of water underneath your armpit. Now it really gets scary, okay? Why do you need that stuff? See, Challenger didn't have that stuff. Challenger wasn't wearing an orange launch suit. They were wearing the same color as that gentleman's t-shirt, an Air Force blue flight suit. No helmet, no nothing. At 73 seconds into liftoff, the 2 rockets, okay, one of the rockets hit into the orange tank. And when it hit into the orange tank, it made the orange tank explode. Now remember, the orange tank is connected to the orbiter by 1 bolt, and there are 2 hoses that lead from the tank to the 3 engines on the orbiter, okay? these 3 engines are running. Now the idea here is that when that accident happened, the whole orbiter split in half, and the cabin here was pressurized. It had air in it. With the astronauts on board, went from 47 to 67,000 feet, and this portion just went directly down because there's no air in here. There was nothing pressurized. So when it went from 47 to 67,000 feet, and the astronauts in the cabin fell at 200 miles an hour. They hit the water at 200 miles an hour. Folks, I don't have to tell you what happens at 200 miles an hour. You hit a brick wall at 200 miles an hour, splat, okay? And it was so difficult to do the recovery because how do you find blue in blue water? Now, bodies were returned to their families for burial, and we picked up 85% of the Challenger. We studied it, and it is buried in Cape Canaveral in a Minuteman silo, 80 feet in the ground. They welded a cap shut onto it so that nobody will sell pieces of it for souvenirs. That would be just too tacky. We couldn't handle that. But it is there, and we studied it for years before we buried it, respectfully, over at Cape Canaveral. Now, so the Challenger, what happened here, the 2 white rockets, see, I'll explain how that happens here. When you launch, well, let's go back to your launching, okay? You come in, you put all this stuff on, you can't think about Challenger. You're going to have to go, and so the way you get in is about the width of this window, and you're going to have to crawl over the instrumentation. That's why you need somebody to help you. And so they help you to crawl in, and you're not going to be sitting in a chair, because a chair would be like you are now. You actually flip the chair side backwards, so your knees are up and your feet are up in the air. And it's a steel slab with a 1/2-inch foam rubber. And your buddy helps you get in, and he straps you in with a strap between your legs, 1 over each hip, 1 over each shoulder, 1 buckle. Anything bad happens for the next 3 hours, you only have to punch 1 buckle, straps fly, you run like heads in an 80-pound pumpkin suit. Now, we want you to be comfortable there, even though we're leaving you with all of that apparatus on your back on a steel slab. So we'll give you a sandwich. This could be your last meal, so it's anything you want. And nothing to drink, because you don't want to have to use the UCD. But now you've got 1,000 switches in front of you. Folks, this is never a time to be jealous of your job. If anything bad happens, and let's say something does, and you're the only person conscious, you got to bring your buddies home. So every one of those 1,000 switches in front of you has to be, you have to be familiar with every one of them. Okay? So that you can't depend on just the commander or the pilot. Everybody's got to do this. So you check all the switches with Houston, then with launch control, then with each other. And then you do, and 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 I do. And when we're all checked out, it takes about 3 hours, then we're ready to fly. The door closes, the little white box swings away, and when that little white box swings away, that's 30 seconds before liftoff. And 14 seconds before liftoff, all the water comes spewing out onto the launch pad. Once you know you're going places now, okay? At 6.6 seconds before liftoff, we test the 3 engines. The reason you test those engines, folks, is because you can shut these off anytime. But once you start the rockets, you can't stop them, right? So we're off. Oh, you know what? Before I finish telling them about this, maybe you should tell them about the little blue box.
All right, coming up to our front left, there's some small buildings. That's our press area where we set up all the TV cameras that come in from all the major television networks. To your far left, you may see our flag waving in the breeze. At the base of that flagpole is a large dark blue box sitting in the grass, which happens to be the countdown clock that you are watching on television. Coming up to our front, there's a larger white building, the office space used by the engineers and technicians that work on the shuttle. They used to be in the VAB, but because the booster rockets are now assembled in there, fueled, we moved them out and put them in that building.
Meredith loves to ask those good questions. That's why she's so smart.
It looks so small now. But
A red spot. And then what did like John Glenn move up to?
The Atlas.
The Atlas.
Silver rocket.
Once we start those 2 rockets, you're out of Dodge. Okay? Start the 2 rockets, you're doing 100 miles an hour just clearing the tower, shaking like crazy. Not because you're scared. You're scared. You're shaking because you're breaking all kinds of speed records. In 2 minutes, you're going to be going 4,000 miles an hour.
Wow.
In 2 minutes, you're 30 miles up. In 2 minutes, you're getting 3/4 of the push you need to get you up off the ground. And in 2 minutes and 3 seconds, boom, the 2 rockets jettison away. Now those 2 rockets, big parachutes, you're still in the air at 30 miles up. Those 2 rockets come down ever so gently, okay? And with parachutes, and they fall in the water about 150 miles offshore. We retrieve them, we bring them back to Cape Canaveral, they wash them on the outside and divide them up into 6 pieces. Oh, by the way, folks, this building, that's where you learn to be a launch controller. Yeah. You know the guy who counts 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? It takes a year and a half to learn that. There are 2,500 systems on the shuttle. That means 2,500 times 2,500 things can go wrong. It's an astronomical number, and they've got to be able to call it like that. No wonder it takes a year and a half. See the buildings over there, 2, 1, and 3? Those are, we affectionately refer to the Vehicle Assembly Building as the VAB. You're on the BUS, you know that, okay? That's an OPF, Orbital Processing Facility. It's the facility where we process the orbiters. That's what they call this, an orbiter. Now in number 2, that's where Discovery is sitting. In number 1, that's where Atlantis is sitting.
Right inside
And in
there.
number 3 is where Columbia was sitting. And I have a feeling Columbia might, well, I don't know. I haven't heard. Has Columbia been rolled in?
I haven't heard, but I saw it on the news. But I don't know if it was an old tape or not.
Yeah?
About ready to go over.
She's about ready. We're about ready to take Columbia from number 3 into the Vehicle Assembly Building to Maker. Now also, look over here to your right. You'll see one of those crawlers. See that great big super duper tractor there?
Is that crawler there, John? That is the big crawler.
There you go, real slowly for us so we can see this.
Hold on.
We'll remind you that 6 million pounds parked there.
Yeah.
Number 1 safety rule out here. Do not ever let one of those babies run over your toes.
That's right. And see behind it, that thing with the 2 big rabbit ears? That's a mobile launch platform. We have 2 crawlers, Hercules and Hermes, and 3 platforms and 4 orbiters. And they can't count. Now what can I tell you? Anyway, when those 2 rockets are jettisoned away, and I told you we retrieve them later on, the 2 rockets are broken up into 6 pieces. The tip with the telemetry and the parachutes is taken where I showed you so that we can work on the telemetry and re-clean up the parachutes and pack them back in. And so is the skirt saved here. But the center sections would fit on a railroad car. You'll see these orange railroad cars around. They ship this all the way out to Brigham, Utah, to the thiokol plant, in clear cross country, empty. And then they send it back to us filled with solid rocket fuel. Yes. All the way across the country from Brigham, Utah, from the thiokol plant. What is this nasty fuel that's in here? It looks like a pencil eraser. It's gummy like a pencil eraser, not rubber. This stuff is aluminum. Aluminum. Yes. Now you drink Pepsi out of aluminum cans. You don't go into orbit, do you? No. And sometimes people cook with aluminum pots. You put heat to it. It doesn't go through the roof, right? So it just can't be aluminum, right? This is 1.3 million pounds of powdered aluminum mixed with ammonium perchlorate. That's what makes the aluminum burn. Ammonium perchlorate mixed with aluminum powder. The telemetry's at the top. It starts a spark. The spark goes down the full length of the rocket, 149 feet. It burns from the inside out, top to bottom, simultaneously, so that in 2 minutes, you get 3/4 of the push you need to get off the ground. Incredible stuff. There's a little bit of rust in there, and it's all held together with a polymer binder. Now, after we get rid of the 2 rockets, oh, by the way, getting back to Challenger, where was that O-ring? The O-ring is a rubber washer that goes between the 2 sections, the 4 sections, rather. It's just like putting together pipes. We had 2 rubber and 1 steel washer. We called them O-rings. And now we have 3 rubber and 2 steel washers. Same system, okay? O-rings are used over and over again. because they're big things. They're 12 feet in diameter. Big, big things. And so the one that they think was responsible for the shuttle, for the Challenger accident, may have been used too many times. It was rigid. The heat came from the inside of the rocket through the O-ring to the outside. It warmed this, and when it warmed the outside of the rocket, the bolt that was holding it to the orange tank couldn't handle the strain. And when it couldn't handle the strain, it bent, made the rocket go into the orange tank, made the orange tank explode, and that caused the orbiter to snap in half, and the rest of the scenario, you know. Okay? So we still use the same system. Just enhanced it a bit. Nitrogen tetroxide. These two chemicals don't make fire, but they make a little explosion when they get together. A little, not a big explosion, because you don't want to hurt anything. So we made 44 holes all over the spaceship, up at the front, at the side, at the back, and each hole, about the size of a dinner plate, has 2 tubes, and the tubes lead from the hole to the bulge. If they suck up the chemicals to the hole, and if you make a little to the right, you move left. Down, you move up. Newton's other law, the third one, says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So now, if we're flying upside down and to the east, we don't want to come home that way. Head first hurts, right? So we flip ourselves over, turn ourselves flying backwards, still going 17,500 miles an hour, and now we start making the explosions out the back. This is somewhere over Perth, Australia. One doesn't do anything. Again, and again, and again, for 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes. And the little explosions happening out the back end as we're flying backwards become a retrofire. And the retrofire slows us down to a very casual 17,300 miles an hour, which is not fast enough to overcome the pull of gravity. Gravity takes over, and we fall like a brick. Hitting down nose first, steeply, coming into where air is at 18,000 miles an hour. Now remember, the orange tank went splat. No rocket ever went outside the Earth's atmosphere that ever came home. This one hits air like flint on rock. You see fire everywhere, sparks in every direction. Unbelievable fire. And when you hit that fire, you know you've hit air. Now we're going to use the air. That's why we have a tail, just like a sail on a sailboat. We have elevons, and you enter into the fire, and the air rubbing up against your spaceship makes so much friction, so much heat, that you're flying through a plasma of fire. It's just like a soup of fire all around you for the next 20, 25 minutes. See, that air now enables you to maneuver, just like a sailor would maneuver a sailboat. But the friction does more than make heat. The friction actually slows you down. So by the time you get to Orlando, if you are landing here, or by the time you get somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, if you're landing at Edwards, you hear bum, bum, 2 sonic booms. You see, we've slowed down enough so that the nose hits 700 miles an hour. That's the speed at which your ear can accept the sound waves. And then the wings and the tail are so close, it sounds like 1 sonic boom, but it's really 2. If you were landing here at the Kennedy Space Center, don't blink your eyes because you'll miss it. Once you hear those 2 sonic booms, within 2 minutes, you bank around and no engines running, no fuel on board, 1 chance for this runway. 1 chance, folks, for this runway. And when you hit in, you come in 6 times steeper than a jet, you flare up, the back wheels hit down, and folks, at 230 miles an hour, twice as fast as a commercial jet, I don't care who makes those tires, you'll only use them once. We put out a drag chute, gives you some lateral stability as well as drag, and by the time you get to right here, which is midfield, there's 1.5 miles that way and 1.5 miles in the other direction. You can bring down the front wheels, and when you bring down those front wheels, okay, then you can do what everybody else does. Brakes. It'll take another little section here. We only use about 2/3 of the runway, and when we get up there, then it comes to a full stop. And from the picture I showed you in here, folks, you can see that you're still glowing red hot. You can see the glow all over the earth. Your family and friends and the press are over there. They don't come out and give you a big hug and a kiss. It's going to be a good hour before you can get out of the spaceship. It doesn't. Which direction? It doesn't matter. It depends on the winds. We can either come in from the south or come in from the north. Depends on how the winds are. Because we have. Remember, we're a glider. We have no engines. We can't steer, so we've got to use the wind, just like a sailor would use a sail on a sailboat. Barry, you want to tell about this? Because I've been talking so much.
Okay. First thing, I'm just sitting here and listening to the presentation, which is outstanding. I noticed when I was looking down the landing strip, can anybody see the end of the landing strip? I can't. Like Suzanne said, it curves with the earth. For any engineers on board, you're going to appreciate this. When they poured the cement for this landing strip, not only did they stay with the curvature of the landing strip, or of the earth, no seams. It was continuous pour, day and night. Poured one sheet of cement all the way. In the middle, it's peaked, 24 inches high, 18 inches to the closest curve here. That's why we can't see all the way across. We can only see across halfway, because it's peaked in the middle. Also, one of the things that happens prior to landing, really important stuff, we send out the wranglers. These are fellas that chase off the alligators and the snakes off the landing strip. They sure that it's clear for the orbiter when it comes back. Also, we passed a pole that had a couple speakers on it, which emits like owl noise and hawk noises to get the birds out of here. I noticed right in front of the bus here, the grass is all tore up. You don't think we don't have problems with wildlife once in a while. That's from wild pigs coming through last night, rooting around looking for grubs and stuff. That's why we have the fence up. Help try to keep these animals off from here.
Folks, two things I want to talk about the orbiter. You finished? Yeah, okay. I want to talk about how we bring that orbiter home safely. I mean, it is a mystery. If everything else burns up on re-entry, how we can bring home that spaceship is amazing, right? And we have 4 of them. It's like having 4 cars in your garage. But I want to pass around space food, okay? If you're willing to go into space, the most dangerous job in the world, we'll give you anything you want to eat. Make out your own menu, 3 meals a day and snacks. You want Reese's Pieces, whatever you want, enchiladas, lasagna, but it's all freeze-dried and vacuum sealed. Yeah. Now, the thing is, the reason we do that is because of weight. Remember, to rocket scientists, only 2 things important: lift and drag. What we want to lift and what we have to do is what drags it down, okay? So you're going to make it as lightweight as possible.
Yeah, you're ready to take off. Yeah?
This is what lifted all the Apollo missions into space.
All right.
It was like sitting on top of a missile. Largest rocket ever built.
When I was a kid, I used to dream about flying through space. Every week on TV, I'd watch my heroes as they jumped into their rocket ships and took to the stars. And I wanted to be like them. They had courage, imagination, and no problem ever stood in their way for long. You know, in the end, when we actually did send men into space, it turned out that those were exactly the qualities it took.
I'm John Hudson. This is Pad 39 of the Kennedy Space Center. I was a launch controller here when from this very spot, man took off to fly to the moon. It was a journey that began 12 years before that rocket ever left the ground. And it started on the other side of the world.
Back then, we were one of 2 superpowers that always seemed to be on the edge of the turn. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first ever man-made satellite into Earth orbit. They called it Sputnik, which means traveling companion. And in a world where peace hung in a delicate balance, it seemed to create a dangerous advantage. Every ham radio operator in America could hear it beeping. People were afraid. Were the Soviets looking down on us, watching us? If they could make a satellite pass over our cities, could they do the same with a bomb? Our own space program kicked into high gear, and less than 2 months later, we were ready to launch our own satellite, Explorer 1. Space 1961, we fell even further behind. Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first man into space, circling the world in just 89 minutes. We had our own astronauts, and they were eager and ready to take the big ride. But our manned space program couldn't seem to get off the ground. We stuck with it, and on May 5th, 1961, things finally started going right.
The right stuff.
Astronaut Alan Shepard took his ship Freedom 7 6.5 miles into space. America had its first space hero. Just a few days later, our space program received a new challenge. But this one did not come from the Soviet Union. It came from our young president. In one inspiring moment, he changed the mission from one based in fear of the present to one of hope for the future.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We hadn't been more than 16 minutes into space, and now we were going to the moon. We would have to design a rocket the size of a 36-story office building, put it together with the precision of a microscope, and accelerate it to the speed of the light. Then we would have to guide it to a moving target 250,000 miles away. Many people thought it was an impossible dream, but 400,000 of us set about making that dream a reality. It would be the longest, most hazardous voyage that any man had dared to attempt. But step by step, mission by mission, we orbited the Earth, perfecting the skills and technologies we would need on this incredible journey. Our astronauts practiced maneuvering, docking, and the 1,000 other tasks that would comprise the moon mission. We created new alloys, lighter and stronger than anything seen before. We designed communication systems that would be reliable over the vast distances. And behind it all, we tried to perfect the rocket that would be powerful enough to plunge out of Earth orbit and take us to the moon. One day, however, the dream of flying to the moon almost slipped away. It was January 27th, 1967. Astronauts Virgil Gus Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee were on board Apollo 1 for a plugs-out test, a full-scale dress rehearsal for the actual launch. Suddenly it happened. There was a fire in the capsule. 3 men whose lives had been in our hands were lost.
Surely the opening vistas of space promise high costs and hardships, as well as high reward. But this country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them.
After Apollo 1, some thought we'd failed, and that the moon was out of our reach. But we owed it to those men to learn from their sacrifice and to carry on. We started taking the Apollo vehicle apart, piece by piece. Was the design flawed? Had safety been compromised? Tough questions. And we spent 1.5 years redesigning the spacecraft so that no astronaut's life would ever be at risk because we overlooked something or because we could have done something better. A moon rocket is 91% high explosive, and it goes into the most unforgiving, hazardous environment there is. We could never make it risk-free, and the men who flew them knew that. We didn't send men into space again until Apollo 7 orbited the Earth, testing some of the new design. When everything worked perfectly, the decision was made. The next mission would travel to the moon. It was mankind's destiny to leave the shores of our planet behind and strike out across the vast ocean of space. In the great span of our history, now was the time that we could. Now was the time that we would. We stood on the eve of the longest, most dangerous journey that any man had ever undertaken. And it would be taken by Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Anders, the crew of Apollo 8. Through those doors, you'll find the firing room, launch control, just as it was on December 21st, 1968.
Ladies and gentlemen, when entering the firing room, please watch your step on the stairway and use the handrails provided. Progress, please use one of the 3 exits on your immediate right. Just push the doors open and they'll get you to the exhibit hall. Also, once again, we remind you as a courtesy to others that no flash photography is permitted while the presentation is in progress, and no smoking is allowed inside the building at any time. Thank you.
This is the firing room, launch control for the Apollo missions. This is not a mock-up. These are the very consoles we sat at when men first took off to fly to the moon. The tragedy of Apollo 1 had put us a year and a half behind. We were making up for it in one big leap, and we were doing it with a rocket that no man had ever flown before. It was a few days before Christmas, 1968, when Apollo 8 sat on the pad. She was the first of a new kind, a moon rocket. This was the Phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. "36 stories high, she had been fully fueled throughout the night. The liquid oxygen in her tanks caused ice to form on the outside of the craft. The extreme temperature differences between the air and the sub-zero fuel caused the metal skin of the rocket to expand and contract. Everyone who was on the pad agreed. It was as though the rocket was alive, breathing, straining at the leash. Earlier in the morning, astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders had made their final preparations before taking that long ride out to the waiting spacecraft. The minimum safe distance from a Saturn V at liftoff was 3 miles. The reason was simple. When fully fueled, the rocket contained the explosive power of an atomic bomb. As the clock counted down, the astronauts and all of us in launch control went through the pre-flight checks, our hands on the controls of the most powerful, most complex machine ever built. It had over 2 million separate systems, and to bring these men back alive, everything had to work perfectly. Each individual system had been tested, but what we didn't know was how they would perform when all 2 million began to work together. That moment would come when the countdown clock reached 0. If a maneuvering thruster failed, if communications broke down, if navigation was off by 1 degree, if any piece of the miles of wiring, circuits, relays, or valves was defective, Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders would pay with their lives. As they sat, waiting for launch on that chill December morning, these 3 astronauts were back to what they had always been, test pilots. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened.
Mankind is about to leave his planet behind and journey to another. It is one of those rare moments when history is not being made, destiny is being embraced.
Attention all personnel. The countdown clock will start on my mark at T-minus 3 minutes. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Once we do that, final the various tanks during the 3 stages of starting 5 months, we will begin to pressurize.
Fire command enabled.
As far as for the increase, the final aspects are ready. Spacecraft ready, final check of the emergency detection system, properly isolated preparations are completed.
All systems are A-OK.
Okay, keep going. We're on. Ready to go to ground right. Stand by, Walter. Okay, you're on.
All systems go. T-minus 40 seconds.
Oxygen tank has been pressurized, and the process is still standing by, spacecraft commander Frank Borman, trim level, full members. And now I report that the hydrogen tank in the first stage is pressurized, 1 minute 15 seconds. All three stage tanks pressurized at this time as we report on the 60-second mark.
plane successfully orbited the moon, and the astronauts returned safely to the Earth. I know. I'm Jim Lovell, and I was one of the crew of this spacecraft, Apollo 8. We were the first men to see the surface of the moon from just a few miles away. But it was the hundreds of thousands of men and women who worked in that team, and the millions of people who supported the mission that really made it possible. That way, I guess, we all went to the moon. Now, on the other side of those doors, you'll find an actual Saturn V moon rocket. It's still the most powerful, the most complex machine ever built. And I guess it's the only one that can take you to another planet. I actually got to fly one on a second flight to the moon called Apollo 13. But that's another story.
Ladies and gentlemen, when exiting the theater, please watch your step on the stairway and use the handrails provided. And once again,
Very good. What do you think, Joe?
Saturn V rocket.
John? Survey the Saturn V rocket.
Hi. We are right now inside where the Saturn V rocket is. That is it, right up there.
The real Saturn V rocket?
Yes.
Let's take a look.
It was really fun.
Oh my God, it's just one engine there?
5.
5? Oh, there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Amazing. I've got this thing back all the way, and it's still.
I'm sorry.
Still amazing, isn't it? Let's go down here and check it out, Joe, all right? All right. Come on, John, Joseph. Let's walk underneath it. Joseph. Get in front of me. Walk the lines, guys. Get in front of me. Just walk down one yellow and the other yellow. Someday, maybe you'll have the right stuff. Maybe you'll be the astronaut. Can you imagine lifting this thing into space? Unbelievable. We're gonna touch the moon rock. Joseph, this is the part that breaks apart. All right, this first part here gets it up into space, gets going real fast, remember? This part is all full of fuel. Then it goes, go for power up, right? And this thing breaks apart, and then this part takes over. You got a whole other set of rockets here. You got this guy here pushing even further. We're still walking along here. And we got our capsule up here. $17,500 miles an hour. This is the third stage now. Here's the service module. And then here's the rescue vehicle for Skylab here. This is the command module right here. This is where they were all in, this little thing here.
I know, I've already seen him. I will take you. Right now, I will take you.
There's a whole lot of room in there.
This is crazy.
So tight.
Leave it up with that. We're trying to do it places for that to be.
What do you think about today? What do you think about today? Well, you enjoying this?
Yeah,
Yeah? What do you think of all these rockets?
they're cool.
Did you learn anything? Come on, I'm filming. Let's go. Come on, animation. Put something into it.
I don't remember.
Elizabeth, we're rolling this tape here. You're just making a look back and say, what a jerk I was. What did you think of today?
It was cool.
What do you think about this being here?
It's fun.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, cut. Elizabeth Vaghi.
It came indeed for all mankind.
With these first steps, mankind stood on the highest ground, and we saw our planet as our home port in the endless ocean of space.
There was something which was surprising to me. It occurred as I was standing on the surface. Just after we had landed, I'd gone down, standing on the surface, and looking at planet Earth for the first time. Seeing the beauty, seeing the finiteness of it, the limits of it, and realizing what a shame it was that people were confronting each other on that planet without realizing what it was doing to the planet. It was a very emotional moment for me. I actually shed a couple of tears. Something totally unexpected for an engineer and fighter pilot to be crying quietly up there on the moon.
Mankind had achieved a tenuous foothold in the heavens, and a new and exciting world lay waiting to be explored. The first mission had stayed for only one day, but over the next 3.5 years, 5 more Apollo missions visited the moon, and with each one, we stayed longer, roamed further, and discovered more.
We hit a golf ball. What's on that golf?
I never thought when I was a kid building rockets, in high school, that we would go to the moon, before the end of the century. I mean, I thought that was something that was way in the future, fantasy.
I was rolling on the moon one day. In the very month of December, May. I look at that, but ain't rock. That is the best example we got. Just don't stub your toe.
We've got to understand that as a people, we need to stretch. We need to reach beyond our grasp. We need to strive to do things that seem impossible, because in the accomplishment of them, we move society forward.
Boy, isn't the beauty of this place is just absolutely incredible.
One of the astronauts has said those hills that we climbed give our children and grandchildren a different perspective, that they see the mountains that we couldn't see. And so what we considered impossible, they're dreaming about.
3, 2, 1. What a ride.
When I have a chance to talk to kids, I tell them, the first thing I tell them is to take the word impossible out of their vocabulary. Go to the teacher tomorrow morning and scratch it out in the dictionary. The word doesn't exist. If I can stand here and tell you that I lived on the moon, that I called the moon my home for 3 days, you tell me what is impossible in this day and age, much less in a generation that follows, much less into the 21st century. Nothing is impossible.
Okay, here we have our astronaut, Joseph Vaghi, getting ready to go on the space shuttle. Joseph, are you ready to mission?
Yes.
Let's follow you aboard. We're going on to the Explorer now. Joseph's walking off for his first time ever.
Guys, this is real.
This is a real one. Yes, John, it's a real one. Same size, everything. Is this cool or what?
Where they store all the stuff they're taking away so that it's like science around. They put it there.
You will find this on Facebook USA. We hope you enjoy your
This is where all 7 of them went. See, all that sleeping quarters against the wall. Must be food storage or something up there.
Airlock.
Welcome aboard. You are on the middeck of the Space Shuttle Explorer. The lockers you see are located directly below the commander and pilot work areas. They contain food, supplies, and sound. To the left of these lockers is the galley.
Okay, Astronaut Joe, you ready to take off?
Yes.
Let's do it. Where's Astronaut John?
He jumped on the bridge. He was too scared.
Where's John? Over there. There you go, Mary. Look at this. This is where they fly. This is the flight deck. We're now in the flight deck.
Discovery 7, Lindsay Robinson.
This is Big Jim.
This is where the two would sit at the control panels during launch, landing, and special maneuvers. The commander would sit in the left-hand chair, and the pilot would sit to his right.
This was built to simulate burn mark. That would be typical Hungarian.
You see the alligator? Hey, Joseph, alligator. Right there.
Liz! Liz! Alligator! Mom! Quick!
There
everybody.
There's another one over there too.
Where?
It's over there somewhere. He went down in the water.
Where's the alligator?
Alligator.
Right below us.
He'll move again. Watch, you'll see when he moves real well.
I remember his name.
He's a small one.
Yes, he is.
And he just aged right.
Who's that?
Yeah, he's 16.